All right, intro to circles. So as you can see here, we've got our 6 items here we'll talk about that make up a circle. And then in this video, we'll also talk about the arcs of a circle and their measure and the circumference of the circle. So to start with the circle, the definition of circle is we have a center point, and then we have the collection of all points a certain distance away from that center point. That distance is called the radius, so we should remember that the radius of a circle is distance from the center to the outer edge. So we got to start with the center. Center, of course, is exactly as you would expect. I'll do that in yellow. So point at the middle of the circle, and that's how we name our circles. This is circle A. And then we have the radius. The radius is the distance from the center to the outer edge. Do that in red. And we'll do that, we'll call the intersection point B. The chord touches 2 points. That's a segment that touches 2 points on the circle. So the chord would be something like this. We'll call that C and D. Notice how segment CD touches the circle in 2 places on the outer edge. There is a special kind of chord. We've all heard of it before. It's called the diameter. And that is simply a chord that goes through the center of the circle. It fulfills the definition of a chord. It touches the circle in 2 points. I just drew in diameter BE there. It touches the circle. It crosses the circle at points B and E. And it goes through the center. So that's the diameter. We should remember that diameter is 2 times the radius. As you can see, that diameter is pretty much 2 radii, the plural of radius, back to back. All right, the others I'm going to do with a highlighter. A semicircle. So we're going to be talking about parts of the actual outside of the circle here. A semicircle, as you may expect, of course, is just half of the circle. We have 2 other things, the major arc and the minor arc. The major arc is the greater of the 2, as you may expect. So from here, let's go from C. The major arc would be this one. It's more than half the circle from C to D. And we would name that major arc CBD. You could also name it CED. You use 3 letters to say, hey, go from C towards B or E. You would only use 3 letters, never 4, to D. The minor arc is the shorter arc between 2 points. So it would be this one. And that would just be called plain arc CD. So if you see an arc labeled with just 2 points, it's the shortest distance between the 2. If you see an arc labeled with 3 points, it's the longer one. And you notice how the major arc and the minor arc together make up the whole circle, the purple and the orange. And then, of course, as we talked about, you have the semicircle that's in blue. All right, let's talk a little bit more about arcs. So let's say we still have circle A, and I'm going to give you couple different things. So let's say I'm going to still have my radius here, AB, and I'm going to draw a different radius in here, AC. And let's say that that's 30 degrees. All right. It is a fact that you should get rid of that A there, that you should memorize that an arc, we know that that is angle BAC is a central angle, an angle to the center of something, in this case a circle. what you should memorize is that the arc is always congruent. The measure of the arc is always congruent, is equal to the measure of its central angle. So measure of arc, BC, is congruent to the measure of angle, BAC. So BAC is 30 degrees. That must mean the measure of arc BC is also 30. Remember, too, that this is the shorter distance between B and C because it is as we can see plainly, less than half of the circle. And we can see also that 30, of course, is less than 180. Half the circle, of course, we know that all angles or all circles have 360 degrees, so if we added up all their central angles, we would come up with 360 degrees. Let's say I'm going to put another point on here. Now let's say I'm going to put point D all the way over here. And I wanted measure of arc BDC. So that's saying go from B towards D through D up to C. So then from there, there's a couple ways I can do this. The first, and they're but basically the same operation. The first is to do it with the arc itself, which would be to say that if measure of arc BC, the shorter distance, is 30, then, well, the rest of the circle that I've highlighted is the rest of that 360, so I would subtract 30 from it and figure out that measure of arc BDC, the major arc, is 330 degrees. Or you could have also done that with the angles itself and said that you had an angle of 330 degrees here as well. Again, knowing that the central angles all have to add up to 360, and you already have 30 there. All right, so let me fill something in for you. Still have circle A. We'll say that's 150. And then we'll put point D over here. And so let's say I would like you to find the measures of arcs BC and BDC. Hit pause, hit play when you're ready. All right, so we know that BC, we know that measure of angle BAC is equal to 150. And so with that, this would be the minor arc because that angle is less than 180 and it's equal to the central angle, so 150. This is equal to the rest of the circle, so 210 degrees. 360 minus 150. All right, and then the last thing we're going to talk about here is circumference. The circumference of a circle, many of you have learned at least one, if not both of these formulas, 2 pi r and d times pi. Of course, r being the radius and d being diameter. So if I have, it just depends what formula you want to use. Remember that 2 times r is d. So if you're going to use that, you're doing the same math no matter what. The question is just which formula? Well, if I gave you that, let's say we have circle C, I would like its circumference, I've given you that. Well, what is that? It's r. So circumference would be 2 pi times 4 because I have the radius. If I had given you a diameter, you would use the other formula because no multiply by 2 because you already have your diameter. This is, remember, an exact answer because you have pi in it. It's very often that you'll see this just because different people's calculators, some have a button that'll approximate pi, some won't. So some people are using, 3.14, and as we know, sometimes, then you're rounding. Not everybody gets the same answer, so that way we're not getting things wrong just because of different calculators. That's part of the reason that a lot of times you will see give an exact answer, or the other instruction would be leave your answer in terms of pi. And so you would be giving 8 pi there. If you were asked just to do it, then you would find out what 8 times pi was, and that would be the approximate answer. All right, so let's fill this in. Let's say I gave you this now. Circle C. You have this segment, and I will tell you that AB equals 10. Find circumference. So hit pause, hit play when you're ready. All right, so if I'm asking to find the circumference here, we should know that AB is diameter. It goes all the way across the circle through the center. So I should use the circumference formula, that's pi d, or d pi. AB is 10, that's diameter, times pi. That's exact. And just so you can see it, if I was to approximate, I would do 10 times pi, which was about 31.42. And that's approximate. So circumference of a circle and the arcs of a circle and the parts of a circle. Thanks for watching.